Here are 4 shocking stats that will rock your reality if you're considering selling a small business. The good news is that you can overcome them successfully to sell your business for a great price while you're protecting your employees and your legacy. So let's dive in. Number 1, 60% of U.S. small businesses are owned by baby boomers over age 55, and those owners will be looking for an exit over the next 5 to 10 years. That's a whopping 15 million businesses that employ millions of people and create 10.5 trillion in GDP. These businesses all have owners that are ready to retire. Number 2, baby boomers have 55% of their personal equity wrapped up in their business. You've worked and sacrificed for years and taken big risks, and you're ready to exit. Any business owner knows that the real return in owning a small business isn't made until you sell the business. In fact, according to CNBC, 78% of small business owners depend on the sale of their small business to fund their retirement. But listen to this next stat. Number 3, according to BizBuySell.com, as many as 65 to 75% of businesses for sale will never actually find a buyer. Now, BizBuySell.com is the largest small business listing site on the planet. It gives them access to tons of data, and while it doesn't track all sales everywhere, most studies have found that in a best case scenario, there is a 50-50 chance you'll never sell your business at any price. And if that weren't bad enough, stat number 4, interest rates have increased 7 times in the last 6 months, with more increases signaled by the Fed. You'd actually have to go back to 1981 to find a 6-month time period where interest rates have risen more than they have in 2022. This obviously is putting a lot of stress on the economy, and it's reducing the number of potential buyers that might be looking for a small business because they simply can't get the funds to do so. Now, believe it or not, I didn't make this video to discourage you. And as someone with 15 years of experience buying and selling businesses, I would not recommend that any small business owner with a profitable business simply retire without trying to sell their business. I mean, it's likely a key part of your retirement, as we talked about earlier, and most businesses have some value regardless of their profit or the economic environment. Instead, I'd like to share 3 things that you can do to empower yourself and take a little control over the sales process. These are things I've noted that other business owners have done to successfully sell for a great price and in a way that consider their employees and their legacy. And what's awesome is these can be done regardless of the economy, interest rates, or any other external factors around you. Number 1, most of the business owners who I see exiting successfully enter the process with a level of awareness and reasonable expectations about their business. They're careful and objective in how they value their business, and they find good advisors to help them determine a realistic current market value. For most businesses under $5 million in revenue, this is usually based on a combination of the last 12 to 36 months of net profit plus the assets on your balance sheet. Tip number 2, most of the business owners who I see exiting successfully are strategic in how they market the sale of their business. Strategic sellers put themselves in the buyer's shoes. They think carefully about their businesses and who would find the greatest value in their business, and they actively promote their business to those people. This is actually a funny creative process once you get into it, and it can really open your mind to some cool possibilities. Tip number 3, most of the business owners who I see exiting successfully are strategic in how they time the sale of their business. This sort of builds on point number 1, and if you were paying attention to how a small business is typically valued, you might realize that the best time to sell a business for top dollar is immediately following a period of record sales. And the good news is that for many of you watching, that could actually be right now. Tip number 4, most of the business owners who I see exiting successfully maintain a good deal of flexibility during the transaction. In other words, they decide what's important to them, and they focus on these things. These are the things they're not going to budge on. Everything else is negotiable. A common scenario I see is the purchase price. So if you're firm on the value of your company, be prepared to offer flexible terms, for instance. If you're firm that all your employees have to stay on with the new owner, then be prepared to flex a little bit more on valuation and so on. Now, of course, there's a lot of additional important things to get right and to improve your chances of selling your business. I've written some of them down in a guide that walks you through 5 things you have to have in place to be able to sell your business quickly, for the most money, and in a way that takes care of your employees. All you have to do to get that guide is click on the link around this video or visit rocketexit.com.